Imagine boarding a plane, excited for your dream vacation, your ticket shining with the golden words, first class. You've worked hard for this moment, saved for months, maybe years. But as you take your seat, instead of a warm welcome, you're met with suspicious stares, whispers, and one question that changes everything. "Ma'am, are you sure you're in the right seat?" That's exactly what happened to Danielle Carter, a successful entrepreneur from Atlanta who had no idea her ordinary flight to Los Angeles would turn into a viral story about racism, humiliation, and poetic justice. It all began with one flight attendant who made an assumption, and ended with that same flight attendant losing everything. But the real twist? What happened after the police arrived shocked everyone on the plane, and left millions speechless online. Before we dive in, I want you to imagine this. What would you do if you were accused of something just because of the color of your skin? This isn't just a story about a flight gone wrong. It's about how truth can turn the tables, and how one woman's calm confidence exposed deep prejudice in a way no one saw coming. Stay with me till the end, because what Danielle does next will make your jaw drop. It was a bright Monday morning at Hartsfield-Jackson International Airport in Atlanta, the busiest airport in the world. The terminal buzzed with travelers, families, businessmen, tourists dragging suitcases through the polished floors. Danielle Carter, 32 years old, was among them. She was dressed in an elegant cream-colored blazer, gold hoops, and a sleek ponytail. Her rolling suitcase glided smoothly behind her as she walked toward gate B27. She wasn't nervous, just proud. It was her first time flying first class. Not because she couldn't afford it, but because she finally decided she deserved it. After years of hard work building her own design firm, she had earned this trip to Los Angeles for a major contract meeting that could change her life. She smiled as she handed her ticket to the gate agent. "Have a wonderful flight, Ms. Carter," the woman said warmly. Everything seemed perfect, until it wasn't. As Danielle boarded the plane, she felt the temperature shift, not physically, but emotionally. The energy in first class was heavy, eyes flicking toward her as if she didn't belong. She placed her bag in the overhead compartment and sat down, seat 2A. That's when she appeared. Melissa Grant, a senior flight attendant with 15 years of experience, blonde hair tightly pinned, uniform pristine. She stopped mid-aisle when she saw Danielle. Her brows furrowed. "Excuse me, ma'am," Melissa said in a tone that was polite but sharp. "Are you sure you're in the right seat?" Danielle looked up calmly. "Yes." "Seat 2A." Melissa frowned. "This section is for first-class passengers only." Danielle handed her the boarding pass with a small smile. "That's what it says." Melissa glanced at the ticket, and for a split second, her face flushed. But instead of apologizing, she forced a smile. "I see. Just checking." Danielle could sense the tension. She'd experienced this kind of thing before, the doubt, the assumption. But she brushed it off. The plane filled. Soon, passengers were seated, safety demonstrations began, and the engines roared to life. But Melissa wasn't done. As the plane took off, she kept glancing toward Danielle, whispering to another attendant, pointing subtly. Danielle noticed. She felt her chest tighten but stayed silent. 30 minutes into the flight, Melissa returned. "Ma'am," she said, "may I see your ticket again?" Danielle blinked, confused. "You already checked it. I just need to confirm something," Melissa insisted. Passengers nearby were starting to stare. A man across the aisle raised an eyebrow. Danielle hesitated, then handed the ticket again. Melissa looked it over, pretending to analyze, then said, "We've had reports of passengers sitting in the wrong section. It's just a security measure." Danielle's tone hardened. "I paid for this seat. Is there a problem?" Melissa pursed her lips. "Not if you're supposed to be here." That's when the man across the aisle spoke up. "Lady, she's got a first-class ticket. Let her be." Melissa ignored him. "Please remain calm," she said, turning back to Danielle. "I'll have to verify this with the captain." And then she walked off. The cabin was silent. Danielle sat frozen, heart pounding. She knew what this was, and it wasn't about the ticket. Minutes later, Melissa returned, this time with another attendant and a serious look on her face. "Ms. Carter, we'll need you to come with us to the front of the plane," Melissa said. "We've contacted airport security to verify your ticket." Danielle's stomach dropped. "You called the police?" "It's standard procedure," Melissa said coldly. The other passengers murmured. Some looked shocked, others judgmental. Danielle stood slowly. "Fine. But you'll regret this." As she walked toward the front, phones began to rise. Passengers were recording. When the plane landed back in Atlanta moments later, diverted due to security concerns, police officers were waiting. And that's when the truth began to unravel. The officers boarded quickly, speaking quietly with the crew. Danielle stood calmly by the exit, her heart racing but her posture unbroken. "Ma'am, may we see your ID and ticket, please?" one officer asked gently. She handed them over without a word. The officer scanned them, then turned to Melissa. "Everything checks out. She's on the manifest, first class, seat 2A. Melissa froze. That can't be right. Maybe there was a system error." The officer looked unimpressed. "No error. Everything's valid." Danielle crossed her arms. "So, can I have an apology now? Or are you going to keep pretending I'm invisible?" Passengers were filming everything. One of them, a vlogger named Ryan Mitchell, later uploaded the entire incident to social media with the caption, "Black woman humiliated in first class, for just existing." Within hours, it went viral. But the most shocking part wasn't what happened on the plane. It was what happened after. Danielle decided she wasn't going to let it slide. She filed an official complaint with the airline, detailing every word, every action. At first, the company responded with a generic apology. Then, the video hit 10 million views. People across the country demanded accountability. Hashtags trended. Hashtag flying while black. Hashtag Danielle Carter deserves justice. News outlets picked it up. Interviews followed. Danielle appeared on morning shows, calm, eloquent, unshaken. When asked what she wanted, her answer was simple. "I just want respect. Not revenge." But justice came anyway. The airline issued a public apology, suspended Melissa pending investigation, and offered Danielle full compensation plus lifetime travel benefits. Melissa's world collapsed. Her suspension turned permanent when internal records revealed this wasn't her first incident. She had made previous complaints about suspicious passengers, all of whom happened to be people of color. The company had ignored it, until now. Danielle, on the other hand, used her newfound attention for something bigger. She launched a foundation called C2A, dedicated to fighting racial profiling in public spaces, airports, hotels, and workplaces. Months later, she received a letter from a young woman who'd watched her interview. It read, "I used to be scared to stand up for myself. But because of you, I know I belong anywhere I've earned my place." Danielle smiled as she read it. For her, that was the real victory. And the final twist? A year later, she was invited to partner with the same airline, this time, to lead a diversity training program for their staff. When she walked into that training room, guess who was in the front row? Melissa. Their eyes met. Melissa looked down. Danielle simply said, "Good morning," and began her presentation. Poetic justice never needed revenge, just truth. Stories like Danielle's aren't just headlines, they're reminders. Racism doesn't always shout. Sometimes it whispers through questions like, "Are you sure you belong here?" But every time someone like Danielle stands tall and refuses to be silent, that whisper gets weaker. If this story moved you, don't just scroll away. Hit subscribe, share this video, and let more people know what really happens when courage meets prejudice. Because in a world where too many are judged by how they look instead of who they are, we need more voices that say, "I belong." Comment below. What would you have done in Danielle's place? Would you have stayed calm, or fought back? Your opinion matters. Let's talk about it. And remember, the next time someone questions where you belong, Look them in the eye and say, "Exactly where I'm supposed to be." Because sometimes, the best revenge is grace. And sometimes, it's just taking your seat, unapologetically.